job.
Thank you.
So we have time for some questions and answers. Yeah, go ahead. Is there a challenge?
Is there a challenge that you want to do, but it's not possible?
So the question is there a challenge that you want to do, Kevin,
Yeah.
that you just haven't?
Yeah, well, the next one, to be honest, we're just saying, the next one is to row little plastic rowing boat from Spain to the Caribbean. And that's something I've been looking at for about 5 years, and I couldn't get anybody to come with me. So I'd been playing around with it, and I was speaking at a conference like this, and I got a similar question, but the conference was mariners, they were all yachtsmen. And about 2 weeks later, I got a call from a couple of the guys who said, we'll do it with you. And my son, who's done all the expeditions with me, my son is now a 27-year-old doctor, and he said, forget it. You know, that's just going to be pain, pain, and more pain. And he's a guy who does Ironman for fun, you know, pain, pain, and more pain. I said, okay, whatever. And I put it on social media, hey, I got a team. And my son was on the phone in about 37 seconds saying, what about me? I said, Matt, what about you? You didn't want to come. Yeah, well, it wasn't serious then, was it? It's serious now, I want to come. So that one has been one that's been, you know, drifting away, and I hadn't quite got a hold of it. And it's going to be painful. You know, I'm an old man. I'll be 61 by the time I'm doing that. And the people who do it are usually in their 20s. I've been to get some older people, but that one's been a bit of it'll be a mental challenge. I mean, I've just taken a personal trainer for the first time in my life because I'm a big fat boy at the minute, and I need to get fit again. So that one's pretty scary.
Next question.
But if anybody wants their name on the boat,
yeah.
we're raising money for plastic, to fight plastics in the ocean. So if anybody wants to have their name on our boat, give me a shout. I'd love to put your name on the boat for a small contribution.
Maybe we'll get a ConnectWise owl on there, huh?
Love to.
Love
to.
Good morning.
Hi.
I wondered, is there a correlation between the activities and the events that you do that relate to business? I mean, is there a direct correlation, or is it a work-life balance thing, or is it just a success thing? Is it just the challenge aspect, regardless of whether you're trying to go North Pole, South Pole, challenge yourself physically, or challenge yourself in business? Are they similar? Is there a correlation for you?
Okay. When I look at the expeditions, honestly, I never look at them as, oh, here's a challenge. I must do that because then I can tick it off. I've never looked at it that way. And in fact, some of the glamorous ones, like Everest, I've been to Everest twice, never been to the top. And you meet people who are there just to get to the top so they can tell the world. And actually, that put me off, so I won't go back. I didn't like the atmosphere. So I don't do it for that reason. I did the poles to raise money to build a hospital. And the others I do because they just look exciting. You know, they're just exciting. And so we do it for fun. We really do it for fun. And if I wasn't the speaker, if you met my son, you know, he's 27, he's climbed all the mountains, he would never say a word. Never say a word. So we certainly don't do it for any glamour reasons. Yeah, I use it in the speeches in order to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about. Is there a crossover? Only in as much as we have a planning meeting on Sunday for the row, and the business plan you would recognize, it looks just like one of those 1,000-day plans. And in fact, it is. It was actually an 800-day plan because we made the decision 800 days before we went. So the approach and the structure is consistent because there's so much you got to do before you get in the water. There's so much you got to do before you get in the ice. You know, we always say once you get in the ice, that's the easy bit because you spend so long planning logistics and training and food and medical and the whole shebang, the whole thing. So the parallels are in the planning. For me, Pete Goss used this word. Pete Goss, for those who don't know, say single-handed round the world Vendée Globe sailor. Became very famous 15 years ago for going back into the southern oceans to pull a French guy out of the water when his boat had sunk, which is, you know, it's pretty remarkable. And when you think the guy was French, it's really remarkable.
What is it with you and the British and the French? This is
nothing that the last 1,500 years of
that's right.
fighting each other.
100 Years war.
I have a lot of very good French friends, but we do fight about it. But what was I saying about Pete? So Pete Goss told me the phrase, Kev, these expeditions wipe the hard drive. They clear your head. Because when you're out doing this stuff, you can't be thinking about work. You just can't be. You're there surviving and achieving the goal. And so it's fantastic relaxation. For me, it's just great relaxation.
I love the idea of throwing out the noise, but it's a bit contradictory because at the beginning you're removing limitations, but when you do go through the selection process, how do you throw out ideas without reintroducing limitations of what you can and can't do?
Yeah, I mean, look, when we do the idea generation, sometimes we do it for 2 days. I mean, this is not a half an hour or 1 hour thing. We go off site and we'll spend a couple of days kicking stuff around. And the boat company was a classic because everyone was telling me everything that was wrong. And so I invented a tool for that company, which we call the whinge wall, whinge, moans. And we put sheets on one wall, and I said, that's the whinge wall. Anything you want to moan about or whinge about, write it on there. Just write it. I don't care if you put your name or not. This is not politics or anything. Just put it up there, because when we built the plan, if the plan doesn't deal with that whinge, we need to make sure the plan does. Then we get a whole series of ideas. You're absolutely right. And this is kind of a plug, but it isn't. If you buy my book, the process for how we simplify that is in the book, because we do it in stages so that we capture the best ideas. And yes, some of the ideas that come out, we use the word are intriguing. Oh, that's an intriguing idea. As in, you can never say it's a stupid idea. You say it's intriguing, can you explain to me how that's going to help us get to the goal? And then we go through this process of sifting. But it's important I don't sift. The team do the sifting so that they own the plan. And yeah, some people do argue really hard for their particular idea, and you know, that becomes a debating point. But my brief to them is, we're only going to do the activities which are really going to take us to the top. And I'll give you how simple we made this. When I took over at Porsche, I told you I had 3 years inventory. And I said to people, we can do anything you like to improve the business. And people were coming to me with ideas and ideas. And in the end, my finance director, bless him, he took a yellow post-it note and he wrote DISC, and he stuck it on my office door. Because when I inherited the business, it used to be very hierarchical. So everyone had security passes, and they only got you through certain doors. So most of the company could never get to the chief exec's door. Well, I just took all the locks off. I just said, you want to talk to me? Talk to me. Just take all the locks off. And so everybody at first was coming up. And it was a challenge to listen, and you don't want to turn people off. So it's their idea. And then that's how we had to build the structure. But Armin wrote DISC on my door. Does it sell cars? If it doesn't, we're not focusing on it this year, because I got 3 years inventory, and that's killing me. That's cash tied up. And that was the biggest issue we were facing that was dragging the business. And so we made some really brave decisions on how to get rid of that inventory. And we were, brave decision. We were going back to Porsche owners and saying, sir, you've got a 2-year-old 911, how would you like to exchange it? And by the way, we'll give you 40% off the price of a new car, 40%. So people were swapping from a 2-year-old car to a brand new car and paying nothing for it, nothing. So we made big decisions to move the stock, and it had to be that focused. And we had to get the noise out of it.
You know, Kevin just said something that's very interesting, which he says his strategy is crowdsourced, right? In other words, it's inclusive. It includes all colleagues, all ideas, everything's open, everything can be innovative. So it's very consistent with the concepts that we talked about yesterday. And I think, what's refreshing about that is that becomes universal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's universal. It doesn't matter what business.
Yeah. I mean, you had a phrase up here earlier on. I don't know if we can throw it up. Your holding slide? Can we throw that holding slide up? You had a phrase at the bottom about teamwork. And when I was standing off stage before I came on, I thought, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about. It's about involving and including the team. And as I've said to you, it's not, if you're a small business, my smallest business today is 5 people. We're not a big team. We're 5 people. But then we look outside that team and say, where can we get ideas from? And at Fairline, the boat company, the first thing I did, having tried to convince the staff that I wasn't a banker, was to invite the suppliers in. Because we hadn't been paying suppliers. And so I got the suppliers in a room and I said, guys, this was about 2 months after I took over, maybe not even 6 weeks. I said, guys, here's where we're going. This is what we're going to do. And I know that without you, I don't have a business. My objective is to pay you. But what I need you to do is help me to improve the business. And in that meeting, I had about 50 suppliers in the room. I put an ideas wall up, a brown paper ideas wall. And I said, I would like you to help me to improve this business. You see this business from your perspective, your suppliers. What is it that you could help me to achieve so that this business becomes stronger and better and you earn more money? And out of that meeting, I remember the number today, we got 23 fantastic ideas for ways of improving and enhancing our business. So it's not just, the 5 people in my team, it's who's the broader team. And I was reminded this morning, when I came here early this morning, I was watching the staff going in and out. There's a whole world. If you've never been backstage in a hotel, it's fascinating. There's a whole world outside the bits that we see as the guests. And you never see it. It's like an exoskeleton around where we are enjoying the guest areas. And we realized at Porsche we needed to change the way. I told you, world-class service. We needed to realize we weren't selling transport, we were selling an experience. Who gives the best service in the world? And when we did some analysis, the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Group were way up there, way up there. And so we did a little bit of inquiry and found out that they actually offer, I don't know if they still do, but they did at the time, they offer training. You can go and become part of their team for a short while. They don't let you serve the customers, but you're backstage and you're seeing it all. The fascinating thing about it was we picked up so many ideas, so many process ideas, so many ways of dealing with customers that we as a motor industry had never thought of. We'd never thought of it. And we took those and we folded those in our own way. You don't take them, literally, but we folded those ideas into Porsche. So we were learning from them. We went to EasyJet. EasyJet, cheap airline. Why did we go to EasyJet? Because Stelios was the first person to have a paperless process. Now, lots of paperless process, but he was the first. I said, how do we become paperless? Man, we're drowning in paper. So I phoned Stelios and I said, hey, can I come and look at your business? And he said, sure, if I can look at yours. Yeah, great. We went and looked at each other's business and we learned from each other. So there are people out there, if you're committed, remember what I said, if you're committed, people will help you. I've been talking about the boat. Once I've told the world that we're going on this row, you'd be amazed at people who say, hey, have you tried talking to? I know somebody who. And so these ideas come at you free of charge. Take them. The world's full. I'll steal ideas from anywhere. I don't have many new ones. I just go and pinch the best ones.
So, this is a great opportunity. I love what Kevin just said. He said, I talked to EasyJet. They were willing to swap information, right? How about here, right? The collaboration. That's what this event is about. And so I would encourage you to share each other's ideas. Have the guts to say, let's go visit each other's offices. Because we think about the fact that, hey, we're all in the same business. It's like, there's no way that we could ever supply all the technology needs of any area. You're not competing with each other, right? We really should be sharing the best ideas with each other, and I think Kevin made a really good point on that. So I think we have time for one more question. Yeah?
So what often happens in business, similar to your inventory story, there are real restrictions. Even though you say it's self-imposed, you still need to get rid of those things. Is it just a case of making it a project, appointing people to actually do it? Is it as simple as that?
Now look, of course there are limitations. Of course there are. And in the real world there are limitations. And I say forget the cash. Of course in the real world there are cash limitations. I got small businesses. Cash is what kills me at the minute in most of my businesses. But the thing about taking the limitations away is it gives people the freedom to think. Whereas instead of constraining them, it gives them the freedom to think. And this new business that I launched a couple of months ago, say it's GDPR support for small companies. That's what we do. And it's I'm not trying to sell it to you. It's cheap. It's a different approach. You can get it for £100 a month. Done. Fantastic. But my team was so conscious that we didn't have the budget to do a big launch that they were limiting things. So a couple of weeks ago, I went in and said, guys, we've just got an investor who's put £1 million in the bank. What are you going to do now? No, we hadn't. But I told them for a minute we had. And they came up with all these ideas. I said, right, so let's see how many of those actually cost money, actually cost what we can't afford. And it was actually, a portion of them did, but a number of them didn't. So it was giving them the freedom, I say dare to dream, it was giving them the freedom to think again. Instead of forever focusing on saving money, dare to dream. And then what we do is we prioritize. Prioritize, prioritize, prioritize. And we do the things that make the difference. You know, most people are overworked and underutilized. They're busy, 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 but we're not utilizing their knowledge and their brain. And what I'm trying to do is turn that the other way around and say, if you didn't have a limitation, what would you actually do? And that changes the conversation, changes the dialogue in the business. Of course we do have limitations, of course we do. But I want them not to have a limitation of mindset.
Well, wow, what a great presentation, Kevin. Great questions and answers. Thank you very much, Kevin.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Great job.
Thank you.